Hallo und willkommen zu Lone Star. Wir spielen Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, der London Case. Ja, wir sind in dem Apartment von der armen Irene. Die ist hier tot im Stuhl. Es gab hier ein Feuer. Und ich gehe mal davon aus, dass sie vermutlich vergiftet wurde, aber wir müssen noch nach Hinweisen schauen. Wir haben als letztes mit Hastings gesprochen. Jetzt schauen wir noch mal, ob wir irgendwas finden. Ah, wir haben das Fenster wenigstens aufgemacht, um zu lüften. Das war die Fälscherwerkstatt. Ja, aber das Champagne-Ding haben wir also ja schon angeschaut. Das Bild hatten wir auch angeschaut. Fireplace hatten wir auch angeschaut. Ah, er hat wieder Probleme. Das haben wir schon alles gesehen. Die Spur können wir uns nicht ansehen. Ah, doch. Scorch Trail.
Oh.
There is a clear trail of where the fire was intended to burn. Judging from the pattern and location of the scorch marks, an accelerant was used.
Didn't you speak with her neighbor before? Might she be able to help?
Wir sollen also mit der Nachbarin reden. Scorch Trail leads to the painting and the door. Und hier ist der Turpentine.
One step closer to revealing the truth.
The start of the fire was no accident. It was set with the intent to damage and kill. The fire was deliberately started. Ja, dann reden wir mal mit der Nachbarin. Halt, wir müssen hier nach unten. Also, dass er da immer so viele Schritte macht, das finde ich schon irgendwie störend.
Is it that copper again? What do you want?
I was hoping to ask you some questions regarding the fire. May I ask your name?
You aren't coming in. You can get that into your head now. Mrs. Colsham. Camilla Colsham.
Colsham?
Merci, Madame Colsham.
Mademoiselle Courts-Mice was not alone in her apartment yesterday.
She hardly had any visitors, but yesterday it was like she had a sign up offering out free ale.
If you would be so kind as to talk us through the events as you remember them.
Well, I saw her leaving with a couple of paintings under her arm. You've seen her work? Not really my cup of tea. Then there was that posh-looking chap. I heard him before I saw him. Like an elephant on those stairs. Next came the professional-looking fella. He's got some money in those pockets, that's for sure. I saw him leaving with a painting, too. Oh, and the argument with another man? I couldn't hear what it was all about, but he had a set of lungs on him.
You are doing a wonderful job, Madame Colsham.
You can keep the patronizing tone to yourself. She must have turned her radio up to disguise what they were saying, but I tell you this, I'd rather have listened to them than that racket. It wasn't long before he was storming down the stairs. I don't think he'd heard the expression light-footed before.
Would you be able to remember any other details of the gentleman?
Through this peephole, you can barely tell who's man and woman. I didn't hear her leave, but when I heard that door downstairs slam, I knew it was her. I opened my door and gave her what for. And you know what she did? She waved me off, bottle of bubbles in hand, ranting about being dry. She looked 2 sheets to the wind, if you ask me. Only after did she turn the radio down. I wasn't going to waste the peace and quiet, and I got ready for bed. I was getting right into the exciting bit of my book. Perkins' first one, you know. I do like Perkins. Well, that's when I first smelt the smoke coming from the hall. And then you lot showed up.
Merci, madame. You have been most accommodating.
Oh, and I found this in the garden. It's obviously hers. I was going to put it through her letterbox, but, well, you know.
The cork from a champagne bottle. It would not be a giant leap to assume this came from Mademoiselle Kortsmith's apartment. A smell lingers on the cork. Bitter almonds.
Ja, aber wenn sie da vergiftet wurde mit, was ist das dann, Cyanid, dann würde man das doch ja ansehen.
Merci, Madame Colcham.
Muss sehr unangenehm sein. Naja, generell vergiftet werden ist, glaube ich, nicht schön. Hier ist Cork. A cork from one of the champagne bottles with a thin hole in it. Wir haben aber noch die Syringe. Irene came home with champagne. Mademoiselle Kortsmith must have returned home with a substantial amount of champagne. Moment, ich muss jetzt hier erst einmal das Stockwerk wechseln. Damit der Hund aufhört zu bellen. Aha, da geht er in die falsche Richtung, die Treppe hoch. Also hier könnten wirklich ein bisschen, noch ein paar Sachen können hier noch nachgebessert. Ich hoffe, da kommen vielleicht noch ein paar Patches. Die werde ich dann nicht mehr erleben, aber vielleicht ihr, wenn es ihr mal spielt. Also. Eine Verbindung gibt es. Entweder haben wir die Syringe irgendwie hier. Aber wieso sollte man ausgerechnet die liegen lassen und den anderen wegschmeißen? Champagne passt zusammen. Fangen wir vielleicht mal damit an.
Another success. I never doubted myself.
Why would she feel the need to purchase more when she already bottles in her apartment? Da fehlt doch was. Irene left to get more champagne when she already had some. Inspect the apartment. Dann schauen wir nochmal nach dem Champagne. Aber das hatten wir uns ja eigentlich schon angeschaut, alles.
Ah.
Das waren die 3 Sachen. Die Ledger haben wir schon angeschaut. Da haben wir auch reingeguckt. Müssen wir vielleicht nochmal mit dem Hastings darüber reden. Schauen wir mal die beiden Gläser an. Geht das?
Huh.
Nein. Gibt's denn hier irgendwas Neues noch? Das Champagne-Glas hat man schon mehrfach angeschaut. Gibt's auch nichts Neues. Die Flasche sieht auch noch ziemlich gut aus, dafür, dass sie mitten im Feuer gestanden ist.
What do you need?
The smell of bitter almonds on the champagne cork.
Almonds? I've never had champagne that tasted of almonds.
One would hope not. Mademoiselle's lips may hold the missing clue we require.
It wasn't an accident. It was set on purpose, using turpentine to douse any evidence of them being there, and the forgery.
An almost perfect execution, had we not arrived in time before the evidence had burned away.
But why try and get rid of the necklace?
Spoken like a true detective.
What can I do for you?
Ja, ein
Let
anderes
us get
Thema haben wir
back to the
nicht.
scene.
Müssen wir nochmal die Leiche anschauen. How curious, the smell of almonds remain on her breath. Die wurde also vergiftet. Irene was poisoned. Wir haben den Korken.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
The cork was pierced with the champagne tap and the poison administered. Champagne spiked with champagne tap. The cork was pierced with the champagne tap and the poison administered. Ja, jetzt gibt's einen neuen. Was gehört noch zusammen? Passt vielleicht Spike und Fire? Ja, was ist die Auflösung? Hat er nichts Neues draus gemacht. Wir sollen Irenes Apartment weiter anschauen.
What do you need?
The poison.
The killer used a syringe to inject a liquid form of the poison through the cork and into the bottle.
Potassium cyanide. Traces of the compound can be found in nature, but dangerous levels, such as those present, can be detected by its notable almond smell.
And she fell victim shortly after in her chair.
Ja, wie unangenehm.
I don't know if I'm cut out for this.
Take your time. Consider what we have seen and learnt of Mademoiselle Courtsmith's time here yesterday.
Okay, firstly, we know that she had a number of visitors and an argument with one of them. Among these visitors, one left with a painting, perhaps another forgery.
Très bien.
Irene wasn't drinking alone, and whoever she was drinking with likely poisoned her. What can I do for you?
Na, da gibt's wohl
Let
nichts
us get
mehr.
back to this.
What do you need?
So, it will not be long before the detective inspector returns.
What are you going to tell him?
The truth. He may hope for a simple and somewhat convenient version of events, but he cannot ignore the facts that we shall present.
My crime scene still intact?
Of course, Detective Inspector. There is something that...
There's nothing more to say.
Pardon, Detective Inspector. The truth is that Mademoiselle Irene Courtsmith was murdered.
Right you are. I'll be sure to make a note.
Ja, das interessiert ihn garantiert.
But you won't?
Excuse me? Are you forgetting who you're talking to?
Ja.
He is well aware of your authority and your capability of coming to the same conclusion. We only wish to inform you of our findings.
Well, my men have been in, as have I, and I've concluded that the mademoiselle, as you so elegantly called her, made off with the painting and decided to have a few drinks to celebrate. She passed out drunk in the chair, candle still lit, and the place went up like a match.
Detective Inspector, s'il vous plaît. It is really not that simple.
Who are you calling simple?
He's not calling you simple, he's saying that isn't how it happened. How can you ignore the bottle of champagne that had been tampered with? The smell of poison on the cork.
You're both experts in poison now, are you?
Ja, natürlich. Wir sind Hercule Poirot.
I do not wish to stand here and argue credentials. Mademoiselle Court Smythe was killed, not by the fire that burnt through her home, but at the hands of another. Her drink, laced with potassium cyanide.
Ich finde es ein bisschen komisch, dass Poirot hier Hastings anschaut und nicht den Inspektor.
Quite the imagination you two have.
Look, we can show.
Und er schaut auch Poirot an. Sehr seltsam.
No. We shall leave the Detective Inspector to discover the truth for himself. Detective, adieu. Monsieur Hastings, you must learn which battles are worth the fight. Besides, we have no time to stand squabbling with him. We have a murder to solve.
Knowing now that the painting is not the original, I feel a sense of relief seeing it in its damaged state. Chapter 5. The Scheme.
That was quite a night. I feel exhilarated, yet exhausted. Triumphant at what we have discovered, but mournful for Miss Court Smythe.
It is being able to control those emotions and still see the bigger picture that separates the best detectives from those that merely like the thought of such responsibility.
So do you think it must have been one of the guests at the gala?
An accomplice disguised as a guest turned murderer. A master criminal they may appear to be, but they have never crossed paths with Belgium's greatest detective.
I think I just felt a chill.
Now we must speak with the guests of the gala again, as well as find Monsieur Christiansen, who has continued to evade my questions. I have no doubt one or more of them will hold the answers we require regarding the death of Mademoiselle Court Smythe.
Wir sind also wieder im Museum, wieder bei diesem lärmenden Ding. Das läuft echt Tag und Nacht. Wo sind sie denn alle? Ah, kann ich jetzt gar nicht mehr hochgehen? Restoration Room, dürfen wir da rein? Evelyn.
Mademoiselle, do you have a moment to spare?
Of course, Detective. I'm hoping you have some good news for me.
Prepare yourself for some distressing news.
Goodness. You've found the painting, haven't you?
No.
A painting was recovered. A forgery, but it was damaged by the fire.
What on earth are you talking about? Forgery? Fire?
It ran rampant through Mademoiselle Court Smythe's apartment.
She's dead. She would never be so. But with all of those flammable paints and... No!
Mademoiselle Warbeck appears quite distraught at the news. Perhaps I should have considered the nature in which it was delivered.
How close were you to Mademoiselle Court Smythe?
I respected her as an artist and a friend.
I do not wish to push Mademoiselle Warbeck too far while in such a state. But as a friend, I must know if she was aware of Mademoiselle Court Smythe's plan.
Perhaps, as a friend, she let slip of her plans.
Her plan for what? Stealing the painting? Making a forgery? Do you really think I'd let her do that?
She must have had help from someone she trusted.
If she did, it wasn't me she confided in.
Did you see Mademoiselle Courtsmice following the gala?
I've been here trying to calm down the trustees.
You did not leave the museum?
I was here until the early hours. After the meeting, I wrote a letter to my father. I wanted his advice on what to do. It's just all so... Excuse me, gentlemen. I must go and make a phone call to an artist. I shan't be long.
Merci, mademoiselle. That is all for now.
Ob es hier noch was gibt in dem Raum?
Aha.
Ach, man kann sich doch nochmal umschauen. Ob das wieder dieses... Ach, hier haben wir ein neues Buch, oder? There appear to be faint indentations on the paper. Even from my impeccable vision, they are still too faint to comprehend. Immer noch das Buch. A Book of Oil Paint Pigments and How They Are Made. Ja, das kennen wir aber schon. Gibt es hier noch was Neues? Ich meine, das könnte ja auch jedes davon so ein aufgerolltes Bild sein. Können wir denn jetzt hier mal reingehen? Wenn er an Hastings vorbeikommt vielleicht? Nein. Ja, aber die haben überall den gleichen Kamin. Oder von der gleichen Firma und genauso dieses gleiche ja, Kohlebrikett. Aufbewahrungsbehältnis da. The Scheme. Irene Courtsmice. Mademoiselle Irene Courtsmice has been murdered. I must get to the bottom of this. Die anderen Verdächtigen kennen wir ja alle. Ja. Zacharia steht auch drauf. Evelyn. Mademoiselle Warbeck was working late at the time of the murder. Hat sie aber dafür einen Zeugen? She has made it clear. She is prepared to defend her position and reputation at any cost. Weiß hier Hastings irgendwas dazu?
Monsieur Hastings, your assistance is required. Of course. What do you need? What can I do for you?
Ich fände es schöner, wenn er gar nicht ihn anreden würde, sodass man hier nicht hier reingeht und sagt dann hier, ja, ich brauche deine Hilfe hier und dann sage ich gar nichts.
Merci, Monsieur Hastings.
Dann sollte er lieber gleich sagen, ich weiß nicht, was ich mit Hastings besprechen soll, das wäre wesentlich besser. Ah, ja, ich will nicht zu viel an dem Spiel kritisieren, aber es sind halt so ein paar Sachen, die mich jetzt dann doch ein bisschen stören. Moment. Das ist doch die kleine Nebentür. Und ich wollte jetzt zum... Ach, hier geht's nur noch zum Restoration Room. Das war doch immer West Wing hier und dann geht's in die andere Halle. Ach ja, die Wege haben sich jetzt geändert. Das finde ich jetzt auch ein bisschen seltsam. Hoch komme ich jetzt vermutlich auch gar nicht mehr. Nein. Jetzt darf ich raten, wo sich der Rest befindet. Aber vermutlich nicht mehr im Museum. Was gibt's alles? Mortimer's office, Monsieur Aylesworth's office at the Royal Society of Art. Theatre Street, the location of the theatre where Betty Allen is performing. Bishop Mountjoy's Church. The London Illustrated News Office. Wo fangen wir denn an? Ich würde sagen, wir gehen nochmal zur Theatre Street und besuchen Betty Allen. Und Zack ist da auch. Falls wir mit dem reden können. Nein, der ist weg. Hat er keine Lust mehr hier draußen rumzusitzen? Kann ich verstehen. Ah, sie ist zu Hause. Wie praktisch. Betty.
Bonjour, madame. Do you have a moment to... Has something happened?
You bet something's happened! That slimebag! How dare he say my performance was mediocre!
Oh, der arme kleine Papagei da.
I'm sure he didn't mean.
That's it! I give up. I'm done with this acting. With this city.
Take a deep breath. One man's opinion, and a wrong one at that, is not powerful enough to topple a career like yours.
You're right. Let him think what he wants. I'm sorry. I'm an actress. It's my prerogative to be a little overdramatic.
Very impressive, Monsieur Hastings. A position in negotiations would suit you well.
Is there something I can help you both with?
Where were you following the gala last night?
You do know what I do, don't you? I was on stage, performing in front of a packed house.
I did not mean to.
Zack, he was there. You two seemed pretty friendly. He'll tell you. So will that Russian lady from the gala. She was with him.
Monsieur Demir and Mademoiselle Babagne. Together. Très bien.
Was your husband also present?
Oh, he's already seen it. I told him he didn't have to come.
A supportive husband indeed.
Yeah, real supportive.
Where's your husband now?
Your guess is as good as mine.
It is most important that I speak with him.
Then you've got a missing painting and a missing husband on your hands because I haven't seen him.
I'm afraid I'm the bearer of some unfortunate news.
Look, I don't think I can take much more today.
Mademoiselle Court Smythe was found murdered last night.
Okay.
I thought perhaps the news would be a little more jarring.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I don't really want to hear about anyone dying, but me and her... Well, there's no love lost.
Madame Allen's nonchalant response has certainly caught me off guard.
You have been most helpful.
Newspaper. Top of the flop. With a name like Betty Allen at the top of the bill, one would expect a certain level of professional stage experience to steer even the dullest of shows, but on this occasion, it was left treading water and floundering in a sea of amateur dramatics. The final curtain fall, along with its star from the other side of the pond, was greeted by a standing ovation, accepted with tears of gratitude, a bouquet-filled arm, and a wave that suggested she had given the performance of her life. And if her performance was that of an actress found on the street of the East End, she deserved every applaud. Mediocre, a term usually used derogatively of someone's performance, but in Betty Allen's case, it is the best one can muster. Without the imaginably back-breaking support of the accompanying orchestra, the entire show would have fallen under the weight of Mrs. Allen's increasing ego and misplaced high notes. A newspaper with the headline MP crosses floor looks like an interview with our very own Monsieur Aylesworth. Ach, da kann ich mir was aussuchen, oder was? The news of the fire and Mademoiselle Courtsmeyer's death has yet to reach the rest of London. Das Bild kennen wir. Local Butcher. Halley's Comet continues to amaze scientists and the world. I'm glad I was able to see it in my lifetime. Halley's slays the king. To many, Halley's Comet came and went like a bright trail of glitter across the sky, a moment of beauty above the layer of grey cloud that hangs over the nation's capital. To others, it brought down a beloved and powerful monarch. I knew it would not take long for the news of the theft to make the headlines. The misplaced Magdalene. The newly christened Royal Edward Gallery was set to return to the heights out of its glory days, with its wavering reputation for bland and outdated exhibits being a regular occurrence. The arrival of a collection from the Daubois estate in Bouillon, Belgium included the highly anticipated penitent Magdalene, ob das alles so richtig ausgesprochen war, recently purchased by the Honorable Mortimer Aylesworth of the Conservative Party, was to be the revival that was so badly needed. Instead, what I stood patiently waiting for its grand reveal and expectant grasp of it was the shock of an empty frame that stole the limelight. War da wirklich da war doch überhaupt da war gar kein Rahmen. Da war eine leere Wand. Der Rahmen war ja da weggelegt in diesem anderen Raum. Das stimmt ja gar nicht. Eieiei, die Reporter. Wieder höchstens die Hälfte war und davon auch nur noch ein Teil. The penitent Magdalene survived the Brabant Revolution, the Belgian Revolution, remained steadfast on the walls of Château de Daubois for well of over 150 years, and yet it is only a matter of weeks on English shores and days within our illustrious city she was kidnapped. Detective Inspector Hardwick of Scotland Yard, Swift's arrival showed the urgency of not only the Metropolitan Police Force, but also the museum's curator, Miss Evelyn Lakshmi Warbeck, to find and return the precise piece back to its new, if not short-lived, home. Monsieur Demire was right, he is making quite a stir on the political scene. January's election result of a hung parliament was not the way the decade was expected to start, and it paved the way for some that reside in the House of London to question exactly where they stood on the important policies, and for some, more importantly, how that would affect their support. One such MP that has spent the last months considering his position and further career is the Right Honourable Mortimer Aylesworth, hailing from Surrey, where his loyal constituency sees his moral code and ethics as a continuation of his father's sterling work. While it looked as though his popularity would only continue to grow through the Conservative and Liberal Unionists, his most recent speech in the House, where fellow party members watched on as he questioned the integrity of his party before making the bold and often considered career suicide move of crossing the floor. Speaking with him following the House sitting, he told me I couldn't sit back any longer and allow those in desperate needs in our towns and cities to be forgotten. We have the great privilege of serving the children and citizens, and we just aren't doing enough, and I had to make a change. Das waren also die Neuigkeiten in der Presse. On stage. Madame Ellen was on stage at the time of the murder. Watching Betty's performance, Monsieur Demire was watching Madame Ellen's show at the time of the murder. Mademoiselle Barbania, oder wie sagt er immer, was watching Madame Ellen's show at the time of the murder. Weiß Hastings noch was?
What do you need? What can...
Nein.
Merci.
Ja, wo es weiterhin geht, wollen wir uns heute nicht mehr überlegen. Machen wir an dieser Stelle lieber erstmal ein kleines Päuschen. Und ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen und wir sehen uns das nächste Mal.